Following the bloody conclusion of the frontier war in the Battle of the Atamara Crossroads, the Tantalus cluster fell into what would later be known as the Black Centenary, a colloquial term for the summer year of 300 PCU, in which the post-war economic ruin of Tantalus, coupled with the worst heights of the Great Famine, tipped human society into a seemingly irrecoverable spiral of destruction. Just about the only organization outside of Mauricia that had seen any good fortune from recent events was Keeper's Dance Fleet Yards. Showered with near-endless funding throughout the war, as well as a steady stream of imported Maurician parts and technical assistance under the Treaty of Misadori, KDFY had constructed more ships and launched more new designs than ever before in history. Having been heavily championed by the previous Forest administration, and with the current modernist cabinet occupied by the grimly unfolding realities of post-war Tantalus, it would take more than a year for the Assembly to actually return the fleet yards to their usual peacetime budget. KDFY's Experimental Warship Development Bureau took this brief opportunity to explore some of the more unorthodox concept designs they had conceived of during the war. Of the several strange designs that were tested, only one lasted long enough to see the construction of a finalized prototype vessel fit to undergo space trials. This was the CSV Huntress, lead ship of the proposed Huntress Class Ambush Corvette, a vessel that draws on certain design elements of the recent Leander-class destroyer sloop and expands upon them in an even further attempt to emulate the highly successful Outrider vessels of the Frontier Union. At a length of 97.5 meters and a wingspan of 29.7 meters, the size of the Huntress was unusually mismatched with its role. While the ship is operated more like a brig, by a small crew with largely computerized gunnery, the various demands of its strange design caused its size to repeatedly increase throughout its development process until it was required to carry the technical classification of a corvette, despite having very few of the characteristics that ordinarily define such a vessel. The Huntress class is an exceedingly complicated and exorbitantly expensive concept design, with many of its included features simply motivated by the wishes of various engineers to see their ideas realized while a budgeted ship still remained to test them on. The most obvious and unusual of these features are the Corvette's 8 amidships high-thrust articulated vector engines, huge fusion torches mounted in ball and socket joints around the ship's center of mass, which, in either a bold or dubious design choice, wholly replace any conventional reaction control system across the vessel. Though exceedingly difficult to pilot, once mastered, the ship can lever itself through fiercely sharp turns in moments and perform a wide range of elaborate and unconventional maneuvers, though it struggles with precise positional adjustments for basic station keeping, turning docking operations into a far more cautious affair. The primary intended function of the Huntress class is that of deep-range ambush tactics. The ship is designed to lie in wait, often for weeks, giving out minimal emissions, and await the passage of an intended target, be it a hostile convoy or an important command vessel, and deliver a lethal, surgical strike from within zero evasion range to disable or destroy this target before employing its extremely powerful main engine to flee the scene. To accomplish this, the ship is armed with a rare example of a spinal chase-mounted broadhead lock coil gun, a weapon usually reserved for the large turreted broadside batteries of a frigate or ship of the line. The 13-inch caliber weapon is a bespoke design, matching no other in current service, and can deliver a powerful and accurate blow, which, like most warship-grade coil guns, can also be double-shotted or loaded with deadly canister rounds for additional damage at short range. This primary weapon is supported by a quartet of wingtip-mounted 6.3-inch swivel guns, which rely on wing hardpoint articulation to create omnidirectional point defense coverage for the Huntress, as well as supplementing the ship's direct fire arsenal in close action. Finally, the vessel features 2 rapid cycling torpedo slits linked to a large forward magazine capable of carrying all manner of conventional and specialized torpedoes, from normal high-explosive warheads to deadly hull and crew-shredding fléchette warheads, pods of tiny swarm missiles, and heavy dumbfire rockets for use against fixed installations. Intended for a minimum crew of 8, though this would likely be expanded in any final service model to include redundant hands and a marine contingent, the Huntress is unusually well appointed and comfortable, with its increased luxury intended to make its long periods spent in ambush position more bearable for the crew. Further to this point, the ship offers a feature unprecedented in a Sojourn warship, a ship-wide continuous paragravity field laid across a horizontal deck structure. Hugely expensive to implement, and relatively expensive even to maintain, the system provides ship-wide paragravity at all times, which naturally offers a wealth of benefits to crew comfort and medical care. This is a design approach normally seen only in civilian luxury yachts and other such pleasure vessels, and is not without its drawbacks. The horizontal deck layout chosen to allow the ship to make easier planetary landings also prevents it from taking advantage of thrust gravity should its paragravity systems fail, and as such, the maintenance of these systems is vital to basic shipboard operation. The choice to design the Huntress to be capable of effecting horizontal landings on a planet's surface was intended to allow the ship to remain on deep-range assignments for even longer by taking advantage of civilian port infrastructure to resupply. The ship can land almost anywhere with a sufficient flat surface, switching the powerful fusion engines within its vector cones to lower power landing mode. The Huntress cannot aerodynamically maneuver or engage in combat within a planet's atmosphere, simply brute forcing its way through takeoff or landing, but this allows the ship not only to land at small planet-side settlements that lack a proper spaceport, but also to land in totally uninhabited areas, to harvest natural supplies, perform reconnaissance, or hide from pursuers. Though many of the ideas explored in the design of the Huntress class have plenty of merit in isolation, their combined inclusion onto one frame creates a frankly bizarre vessel, whose hope for efficiency is lost in a miasma of competing experimental features, and the piloting of which is more art than science. The ship's thin armor and propensity to be left completely out of control should it suffer damage to even one vector engine leaves it unfit for the kind of stand-up fighting that most in the Admiralty would consider the true purpose of a Sojourn warship. Having had basically no hope of reaching a full production mandate under even the best of circumstances, the class's only vessel, the CSV Huntress, became one of many projects to disappear through the cracks of the disintegrating infrastructure of the Centrum Assembly during the Black Centenary. With KDFY's budget cut and the Experimental Design Bureau temporarily dissolved, the Huntress was abandoned in a secret military subsection of the Corsetti Reclamation Yard on Rialtis, a location known only to those involved in the development of the recent Leander project. After several months, the ship's immunity from basic salvage rights expired, with no one having thought to purchase any kind of long-term insurance. As a result, the vessel fell into the hands of the salvage yard itself, who could now technically accept an offer to purchase the vessel should one be made by any of those precious few who knew of its existence. With its flaws accounted for by a crew willing to learn her ways, its difficulties managed by aftermarket components for auto-loading and automation, and its destiny changed to one of freelance privateering, the Huntress might yet find a far more fitting purpose for itself than the one it was made for.